The next pattern in the organizing data series is called change value to reference. And it's very commonly used as an immediate next step after our last pattern that was called replace data value with object. And so we start off where we left off after that last pattern. The motivation here is that we have this class that has many equal instances throughout the system, and we want to replace all of those instances with a single instance that is referenced throughout the system. So here we have our immutable value type that is the customer class, and throughout the system we always create new instances of customer, and as long as they have the same name we treat them as the same thing. Well, now we're going to make them actually be the same thing in memory. So the first thing we're going to do is we have to replace this constructor. So let's create a static factory instead. Just call it create. And for now we can return a new customer. And now we'll make this private. And then we have to replace the use of that constructor throughout any calling code. At this point we could compile and run our tests, make sure we haven't broken anything. But really we're still using this as a value type, we've just delegated the construction of it to this factory. Now at this point we have to decide where we're going to get our existing customers. Chances are that's going to come from a repository or some database of some kind. For now we're not going to bother with that for the purposes of this pattern, simply because that's all outside of what this pattern actually does. For now, in fact, just for the example, I'm going to go ahead and just create a hash set of customers. Call it existing customers. And just to populate it with some existing data, let's just create a static constructor here that does just that. And so on. And so now, in our factory, we would get an instance of this from this existing hash set. Now there are a lot of other considerations here that aren't really part of the pattern. For example, what do we do with a new customer versus an existing customer? Does the factory just transparently add it to the hash set if it's new and return that new one? But that's all outside of this pattern. For the purposes of this example, we're just going to assume that all of the customers that we're going to use already exist in the hash set, and we're just going to use what's in the hash set. And essentially that's it. Now you'll notice we're still really an immutable object here. We have no immediate need to change that. There's no reason to change that as part of this. We might change this method name to something like getExistingCustomer, just to be a little more clear about the example in this case. But there's no reason to change the behavior of the customer object at this time. It's not part of this pattern. All we've really done is taken all of the instances of customer that are used throughout the system and made them refer back to one static instance in the system. So now if two different pieces of code are holding two references to customer objects, while they can still compare them by the name, that functionality hasn't changed. If they make any changes to the customer object, or if they enact any functionality on it, they're all pointing back to the same one in memory. So that value has essentially become a reference to that one customer in memory. That's it for the change value to reference pattern. Thanks for watching.